Hello, friends. Hello, lovely people. Hello, soulmates. Once again, I'm here to present to you the making of this ruffle gown. I'm actually going to make this ruffle gown. It's quite easy, quite simple to make. If you can follow me to the end, you find out that it's not difficult at all. Yeah, I'm doing this on behalf of Gifted Hands Fashion House. It's a fashion school where you are privileged to learn everything about ladies wear. Right now, I'll be making this gown. Like I said earlier, it's going to be a ruffled gown, and the neckline is also going to be an asymmetric one. That's a one-sided neckline. So as you watch to the end, I trust you'll be able to make something like this for yourself. Join us while we move to the cutting table. Right now, I have this. This is the fabric I'll be working with, and I'm working with the following measurements. I need my shoulder of 16. I'm working with a chest line of 9 inches. That's the standard chest line. The chest line is the same thing as your armhole. So the standard is 18. 18 divided by 2 gives me 9. But if you are slim, you can use between 7 to 8. And if you are petite, maybe on the small side, you can use between 6 to 7. Okay? So, but for people who are on the large side or people who are averagely big, you can use 9 inches. Anything more than 9 inches is gonna be too much. So my shoulder of 16, my chest line, which is the same thing as my armhole of 18 inches, and then I also need my half length. I need my under bust. I'm working with an under bust of 14 inches, half length of 17 inches, and then my full length. I'm not going to cut out the half length. I want to I want to mark it up together. All right. So um, from the half length, I'll take my full length, but I'm not going to cut it out. So let's start marking. So for now, this is the measurements we'll be needing. And then aside that, we also need our sleeve length and our sleeve width. So let's go with what we have for now. The shoulder of 16. Okay, before taking my shoulder measurement, I need to fold my fabric into two. I've done this pattern. A lot of you should be conversant with this by now, but if you are a newbie, if you are just joining us, you are still privileged to learn afresh from this video. So I've folded my fabric into two, and actually I'm going to fold this fabric with my hip measurement because my hip is the biggest part of my body. If had it been I was making a blouse, I'll be folding with my bust measurement because for my blouse the biggest part is my bust. But since it's a full gown, I'll be folding my fabric with my hip measurement. Hope you are following. So I'll take my hip measurement of 46. I'm dividing by 4. I have to divide by 4 because as I fold this into two, this is the front part. And I'll fold another one into two, which is the back part. So the front part and the back part gives me 4. Like what I have here, this is 1, 2. And then when you go to the back part, 1, 2, that's 4. That's why we divide by 4. So I'm folding my fabric now with my hip measurement. My hip is 46. 46 divided by 4 will give me 11.5. You can add about 2 to 3 inches depending how you can manage it. You can add between 2 to 3 inches here. Okay, so I have about 15 inches here. I'm still okay with this. Now the next thing, since I've gotten my hip measurement, I've folded my fabric with my hip measurement. The next thing I need to do is to get my full length. For this ruffle dress, it's actually going to be a kind of one-sided, or should I say slanted. It's actually going to be slanted. So I'm going to measure it in a way that after everything, I'll make my slant. The full length I need here is going to be my above knee. I want my own length to be at the above knee. So my above knee length is 34. So from my shoulder, I'll get 34. I can add about 2 inches allowance to it to get 36. But remember, I need to start up here with 1 inch seam allowance. It's very important. Don't forget that. So mark 1 inch seam allowance up here, and then from here now, from this line at this point I marked, I'm going to take my 34 inches plus 2 inches seam allowance. So I've marked it out. I decided to use this chalk because this one is not clear enough. So I'm making use of my colored chalk. I've marked my above knee length and then my seam allowance. Then here is my starting point. So I'll cut it out. I'll cut it out so I'll be left with the actual fabric I'm working with. Here's it. At this point, what I'll do now is to start taking my measurements. So I'll be taking my measurements now. From this close edge here, I'll take my shoulder measurement. My shoulder is 16 divided by 2 is 8. I'll add 1 inch. You can add half, you can add 1. But when you want to fix your sleeve, you now shape your shoulder. So I'm adding 1 inch to 8 to get 9. Here's my 9. You can see my starting point. From this starting point, I'll take my chest line. My chest line is 9. If you are on the slim side, you can use 8. And then if you're on the large side, you can use 9. Anything above 9 will be too much. So if you're fat, you're free to use 9. So my chest line is 9. Here's my 9. My under bust is 14. Here is it. And my half length is 17. Here is 17. Now I don't want to cut off the half length. I want to make it together. So my from my half length to my hip line, you add 8 inches. If you are on a fat side, add 8. That is between your half length to your hip line. If you're fat, you can use between 8 to 9 inches. But if you are slim, you can use 7 inches to 8 inches. So my hip line, if I add 8 inches to it, I'll get 25. So here is it. This is my hip line. And then I'll now get my full length. My full length of 34 inches plus 2 inches seam allowance, 36. So I'll connect all these lines. My chest line, under bust, half length, hip line, my full length, and my seam allowance. The next thing to do is to I've taken my shoulder measurement. You can see it between here to here is my shoulder. So whatever I took for my shoulder measurement, I can confidently mark it here. Remember, I used 9 inches. So I'll just mark that 9 inches and then connect it. Okay? So this becomes my armhole. This is my armhole here. And then this is where my neck will be. On my chest line, I want to take the side measurement. On my chest line, I'm going to take my bust measurement. I'm working with a bust of 44 divided by 4, 11, plus 2 to 3 inches seam allowance, that's 13. Then I'll take my under bust measurement. I'm working with another bust of 40 divided by 4 is 10, plus 2 to 3 inches seam allowance, I'll get 12. My half length, which is the same thing as my waistline, is 10.5 plus 2 to 3 inches seam allowance will give me 12.5. And then my hip line of 11 plus 2 to 3 inches seam allowance, 13. But because I want to make it in a pencil form, whatever I have here, I'm going to reduce it by 1 inch here. So I'll get 12 here. And now I can join up the lines like this, like this. I hope you are following. So here's what we have. The next thing I'll do is to mark my neck measurement. Okay, remember it's going to be an asymmetric neck or one-sided neck. So I'll mark 4 inches here, and I can take about 5 inches to 6 inches here. And I'll connect it as well. I'll also take my shoulder slant and connect. Sorry, take it from the armhole. Taking 1 inch, then I'll connect it like this. That 1 inch seam allowance I left at the top of this fabric, I'll be making use of it now because I'll need it to join my shoulder. So I'll add 1 inch all the way. Then I'll connect it as well. So I'll be cutting it from here, not here. Then I'll join it from here. So what I need to do now, here's my neckline. I'll show you how to cut it with an asymmetric method. And I'll also take my armhole. I have an armhole length of 9 inches. Half of it is 4.5 plus half is 5. And then you remember, every armhole for the front, you come in by 0.75 or 0.5 before connecting. So I'll connect it from here to this point. So with this now, I've made my front pattern. If you want that to be on this, you can take your dart. Your front dart starts from 12 inches, and then the back dart starts from 9 inches. So what I'll do now, I'll mark 12 here. But before that, I'll take my nipple to nipple measurement. My nipple to nipple is 8 divided by 2, 4 plus half, 4 and a half. So I'll mark 4 and a half all the way. Remember, it is cut together. So for me to know where the dart is going to end, what I'll do, I can equally mark 4 and a half here, no problem. So this is my nipple to nipple line. Let me construct it so that it will be very obvious. So my back dart, I started it from 12 inches. The front dart starts from 12 inches. Mark it. So what I need now is, from these 12 inches, my dart is going to extend. This is my hip line, okay? This is my hip line. So I'll take it up by 2 inches. I'll take my hip line, see how I placed it. I'll take it up by 2 inches. So this my dart is going to stop here. To start here and stop here. Then this line here is my half length. See my half length. So it is on the half length I'm going to place ½ inch on both sides. And then I'll construct it like this. If I was going to cut a half length, That means the dart will just be like this. But since I'm not cutting it, I'll extend it down here like this. Is that clear? So here's my dart for the front. Now what I'll do, I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to cut out the front fabric, after which we move to the back parts. So for this, for the neckline, I've cut other parts, but for this neckline, I'm not going to cut it on fold. But what I'll do is to notch what I marked here. I notched it. And then I'll open it now. Here's what I have. I'll open up, I've opened up the neckline. Remember I told you it's going to be asymmetric, like one-sided. So what I'll do now, I'm going to use this ruler to connect it, just like this. This is the line. I'll connect it this way. Depends how you want it. If you want it deeper, you are good to go. Anyhow you want the neckline to be, it's up to you. If you want it to come this way, it's up to you. So, and when you're making the neckline, always try to make this part to be on the left hand side. Okay, you can see it's on my left hand side. So I'll cut it open now. Following this same line. Hope you see what I did here. So having done this, we are going to use this now to trace for the back part. Remember this dart, I also need another dart here. Okay, let me show you. If you cannot trace the dart, just use your office pin. Place it here and place it here, then you rule the line. Here's mine. I have it from here, and then I place this one to here. Then I can now turn it over. This is it here. Then I'll trace this line. So now, here's the line. And then my half length, if I cannot still measure it out, here's the half length. I can simply use my half length, my pin on the half length. Here is it. I'll just mark it out here. Then for the half length, remember half inch on both sides. So what I'll do now, I'll mark half here and half here. Now I'll connect it like this and connect down to this one like this. So this is my dart. I can now remove the pin. Now I will use this fabric to trace for the back part. So these are the two darts. I'll use this fabric to trace for the back, unfold, so here is it now. I folded the back part and then I place this front part on top of it. I'm going to cut it out now. Remember your zip allowance. I marked my zip allowance of 1.5 inches. Also remember that the armhole for the front and the back can never be the same. So while cutting it, it shouldn't be the same. Like that 0.5 inches I took at this point, I'm going to leave it at the back. Take my slant and I'll also cut out my neck area. Now let's revisit the back. Here is the back part with my zip allowance included. And here is the front part. Remember, it's a one-sided dress. So I'm going to cut it out from this point, okay, so that I can get this slant. I'm going to cut off from here. But before that, let me mark out my zip allowance and split open. Yes, I have splitted. I've opened my zip line. You can see it. And then there's something I normally do. Here's my full length. I mark it. I mark my full length here. And then I mark the half length. I also mark my hip line. I also mark my half length, my underbust, and the 12 inches where my dart starts, I mark it here. So all what I've marked here is just for me to get an accurate dart. And here also, I notched my 4.5 inches for my nipple to nipple. See it here, I notched it open. So what I'll do now, I'll remove this. And then I can carefully trace out or mark out what I have here. Now I'll take my nipple to nipple of 4.5 inches. But remember my zip allowance. I have a zip allowance of 1.5 inches. So I'm going to mark it out. Here's my zip allowance. So here's my 12 inches where my front dart started. But remember the back dart starts from 9 inches. And here's my 9 inches. Remember when we marked our chest line of 9 inches. So here's my 9 inches. My back dash should start from this 9 inches. So I'll take 4.5 here, my nipple to nipple. And I'll mark it all the way down. I'll come up here by 2 inches or 1.5. And then here I'll come down by, let me just make it 1 inch. Then my half length, this is my half length here. I'm going to mark half inch on both sides and I'll connect it. So I have my dart here. I can still use my pin to get the dart for this other side. Next thing to do now, I want to get my slanted shoulder. So I'll place it like this zip line to this zip line. I'll now get the front part. Here's the front part. I'll also place it equally. You can see what I have here. So what I'll do next is I'm going to trace it out from here and cut off. So I'll cut from here. I notch this place because here's where my sleeve is going to start from. You can see it. When you place this like this, okay, at this point here, down, here's where my sleeve is going to start from so that I won't be confused. So this is all for the upper part. We're going to the flounce part of it. We're going to cut the flounce that we'll be using to design it. But before that, I want this length to be originally slanted. I want it to be slanted in shape. I'll mark like 2 inches or 3 inches from my full length, and then I'll curve it. Depending what you want, if you want 4 or 5 inches, it's up to you. And then you curve it downwards. So I'm going to do it now. I'll mark. All right, madam. So here is it. I marked from this point. Actually, I started from above the allowance. I marked 4 inches above the allowance, and then I slanted it downwards. So I'll be cutting now. You just need to slant it so that you can get a fine shape. That's what I have. So I'm going now to make my spiral or my flounce. And with that flounce now, I'll design it just the way I like. To make the flounce, I'm going to measure the first. It's going to be a 2-step flounce. I'm going to measure the first one round the front and the back fabric. Like what I have here, I'm going to measure it after I've finished joining it. Okay, so I'm going to take the measurement I have beneath here, round. That's for the first flounce. But for the second flounce, I'm not going to take it round. It's going to come upwards like this to this area. All right, I'll stop somewhere at my half length. So I'm going to measure it like this for the front and for the back. So the first one is like this. Measure it like this. I have 28 for the front and 28 for the back, giving me 56. And the second one, from this half length, I'll measure it like this. I have about 32 for the front and 32 for the back. So it depends on where you want your flounce to be and how you want it to be like. This is just my own illustration. You may decide otherwise, but always remember to measure what you'll be working with so that you don't have lesser or more. Okay, so that's all for this part. I will take this, sew it up, and come back so you can see what I've been able to make, and then we'll cut the flounce together. Okay, I've joined this part. You can see it. I joined it like this around. Then when I get to the armhole, I left that allowance for armhole. Okay, I left this place. I didn't join together, and then I joined it from here down. I want it to have a kind of cold shoulder, so it's going to be like this. This part is going to be open like this. And then when I was joining two, you can see this part. I didn't join this part, and I didn't join this part. Both of them are open. Okay, here is my sleeve. So it's going to be like this. And then my hands are going to go in here. Okay, it's going to enter here. And then I also like to, I made this place a little bit bigger so that I can use, what's it called? Elastic. I want to use elastic. I want to make this place a kind of little bit gathered. Okay, so right now, after sewing from inside like this, after sewing, I place the cape on the wrong side and I sew it from the right side like this. After that, I'll now turn it this way so that it will come out like this. Hope you can see it. To come out like this. Then after that, I top stitch it, I'll hem it like this. See that I hem it like this, or I will interlock it. Then for this lower part, what I need to, for the lower part, I'm going to measure out what I have here. I'll measure out what I have here. I have about 47 inches. So I'm going to cut another circle, just the way I did here. I'll cut another circle, just the way I did this upper part. I'll cut another circle for this. The first one, I'm going to fix it with this 47 inches that I measured here. But the second one, I want it to have a different shape. So it depends on what you want. I want the second one to go like this. Okay, this one is not up to that 47. So I'll be cutting it into two places. The first one is 47 and the second one is 44. I'll cut it into two places. So here is it. I folded my fabric into four. The same way you make your circle. I folded it into four. I have it here. This is 2 and this is 2. So after folding, remember I measured out 47. I'm going to divide that 47 by 6.28, which is the formula for a radius of a circle. So 47 divided by 6.28, I have 7.4. So 47 divided by 47 divides 6.28 is 7.4. So I'm going to measure out 7.4 here. But before that, I need a length of about 15 inches. So I'll check to know what I have here. I have about 15 inches here. So I'm okay with it. This is my 7.4 and then this is my 15 inches. So I can measure out conveniently, but I'll prefer using 7 inches. Most times, subtract like 0.5 from whatever you get, okay, to avoid making an excess circle. So this is my, I use 7 inches and then here's my 15 inches. I'll mark it as well. So I'm going to cut it out. From here, I'll cut out this circle here, this radius. I'll cut out the radius and the circle. Then I'll cut out from here too. So it's here's what I have. This is what I'll fix for the first step. I'll fix this one for my first. For the first step, which is here. This one will go here, like this. I'll fix this one here. You can see I subtracted um, not up to 0.5 inches, but I still have a little remnant here. So always learn to subtract like 0.5 inches from whatever result you get. I'll fix this here. Now I want to cut the second layer of this circle. This time around, I'm going to fix it in a slanted form. Depends on what I want, or anyhow you want it. Depends on what you want. I want the second one to be slanted, kind of. So that's exactly what I'll be doing. And then it's going to be shorter than this one, obviously. Since I used a length of 15 inches for this one, I may use like length of 10 inches for the second one. But the width is going to be different. The width is going to be different. Like the first week was 47, but this one is like 44 inches. So I'll be using 44 for this one, while I used 47 for this one. So let's cut it. So to cut for the second step, I need to make it with gathers. So what I need to do in this stage is I'm going to, whatever I want to add to the gather, however I want the gather, whatever result I get for my radius, I can multiply it by 2. Okay, I can multiply it by 2 so that I can get my gather. If you don't want to multiply by 2, you can multiply by 3 to get your gather. I want gathers to be in it.